It was a beautiful autumn morning in Gravity Falls. Dipper Pines was sleeping in his bed. Mabel walked up to his bed to wake him up. Thanksgiving was coming up next day, and she, along with Dipper, Ted, and Wendy, will be going shopping for food for the big holiday. Dipper, it's time to wake up, Mabel said as she gently shook Dipper awake. Not now, Mabel. I'm trying to sleep, Dipper groaned while he was sleeping. Mabel was getting very annoyed by her brother, not wanting to wake up. Dipper, you're being a lazy bear. Mabel pulled the covers off of Dipper and began to drag him by his feet off the bed. Dipper was awake, and then he fell onto the ground with a thump. He groaned as he woke up. Sometimes sisters are a pain, Dipper thought. During breakfast time at the diner, Grunkle Stan bought pancakes for Dipper and Mabel as well as himself. Mabel looked at the calendar, and she could see that Thanksgiving was coming up on Thursday. And seeing that today was Tuesday, she was in the mood for the big holiday. Grunkle Stan, Thanksgiving's on Thursday, Mabel said, as she was excited to eat turkey and the other things being served on Thanksgiving. You're right. I'll have to send you two with Wendy to get the food. We can do whatever we can for the meal on Thursday, and tomorrow we'll be inviting our friends and family, Grunkle Stan replied. He patted Mabel's head. This is going to be great, with everyone eating together, Dipper said. Turkey with stuffing, cranberry sauce, gravy, mashed potatoes and vegetables, and don't forget the apple pie with whipped cream and pumpkin pie, Mabel added. We better go shopping today before they're all gone. Sounds good, Mabel. We'll have to go find Wendy in the Mystery Shack after breakfast, Dipper replied. After breakfast, Mabel and Dipper both headed over to the Mystery Shack. Wendy was reading a magazine on the front of the counter. She looked up to see Dipper and Mabel walking in the Mystery Shack. Hey, you two. What are you both up to? Wendy asked. It's Thanksgiving this Thursday, Wendy, and Grunkle Stan would like all three of us to go shopping, Mabel replied. Well, look at that. I'm surprised that Thanksgiving's on Thursday, Wendy said as she looked at Dipper, who showed Wendy a list of food for the big dinner, and Dipper was really excited. Here's the list, Wendy. I think all three of us going shopping sounds good, Dipper said to Wendy. We'll have to go to the grocery store and buy the food for Thanksgiving. Plus, we'll have family and friends over, Wendy replied as she kissed Dipper's forehead. Sus will be here soon for Thanksgiving, and there'll be a lot of people here as well. Your dad and brothers will be here as well, Mabel began. We also invited Ted the teddy bear, Patrick Star, and the Shadow Reader. Mabel grabbed the turkey and then hat and danced around like crazy. I know Thursday is Thanksgiving, you guys. Let's all go to the store and get the things we need, Wendy said. As Dipper kissed Wendy's cheek, the trio then went to the grocery store to buy Thanksgiving food. Wendy grabbed a cart as Mabel and Dipper walked beside it. What kind of vegetables should we get? Dipper asked. How about we get some potatoes so then we can have mashed potatoes? Wendy suggested. And let's get some corn and even squash. Sounds good, I'll get that, Mabel said. As she went off to go get what was on the list, Dipper looked at Wendy, only trying to get a job for her. What can I get, Wendy? Dipper asked as Wendy looked at the list. We could go to get stuff to make the stuffing. Want to get some stuff for it? Wendy asked as Dipper nodded. Okay, why not you get bread, onions, carrots, green onions, and even some seasoning, Wendy suggested as Dipper nodded and took off. Wendy headed over to the frozen section, only looking for a turkey. As Wendy looks up, she could see Ted the teddy bear, and he was buying a lot of cans of bottles of beer, at least in cases, of course. And when he noticed Wendy, he waved at her. Hey, Wendy, I can't wait for Thanksgiving on Thursday, Ted said as he put a case of beer into a cart. Me neither. Are you planning to bring beer for the dinner? Wendy asked, seeing that Ted has a lot of beer cases in his cart. Don't you think 3 cases of beer is too much? Not to me, Wendy, and I'm going to be bringing beer, yes. Why? Ted asked. If Robbie shows up on Thanksgiving, I'm going to spike his beer bottle with laxatives. Ted then chuckled, and then I'll put them on the toilet for hours. Robbie isn't going to be here. But you could do that if he shows up. Wendy winked at Ted with a smirk. Mabel and Dipper then turned to Wendy with food for Thanksgiving to the cart. We got what was on the list, Wendy. What's left? Mabel asked. We need a turkey, cranberry sauce, 2 pumpkin pies and 2 apple pies, and even 3 cans of whipped cream, Wendy replied as Ted found the turkey. I found a large turkey. Crap, even heavier than Robbie's ass, Ted said as he put the turkey in the cart. This made Dipper, Wendy, and Mabel laugh. Thanks for finding the turkey, Ted, Dipper said to the teddy bear. Then Mabel found a can of cranberry sauce in one of the aisles. I found the cranberry sauce, Mabel said as she put the can in the cart. Nice work, Mabel. Now we just need 4 pies and 3 cans of whipped cream, Wendy replied as she looked at the list. She then noticed Ted's handwriting on the list. What? McDonald's? I don't recall that being on the list. Wendy then looked at Ted. I put McDonald's on the list because I want to have McDonald's on Thanksgiving as well, Ted said to Wendy, Mabel, and Dipper, who shook their heads. McDonald's food is not Thanksgiving dinners, Ted. It's not traditional, Wendy replied as Ted crossed his arms. He then looked at what he was going to have a tantrum over it. Why not, Wendy? I want McDonald's, Ted pouted. But Ted, we can have McDonald's today and after Thanksgiving, Dipper suggested. Besides, a turkey meal is more than enough food than McDonald's. My brother is right, Ted. Be thankful, Mabel added. Well, yeah, I might have acted like a spoiled brat, and I'm sorry, Ted replied as he grabbed a can of whipped cream and then shot some into his mouth. Ted, you need to pay for that can of whipped cream, Wendy said as she snatched the can of whipped cream from him. Come on, Wendy. I was trying to be a jackass, Ted then replied as Wendy threw the can of whipped cream into the nearby garbage can. Dipper grabbed 2 apple pies while Mabel grabbed 2 pumpkin pies, and they loaded them onto the cart. There, that's everything on the list, Mabel said as Wendy made sure everything was on the list. Well, that's everything. Let's go pay you 2, Wendy said as she, along with Dipper and Mabel, were heading towards the checkout. And then she turned to wave goodbye to Ted. Later on afterwards, Wendy, Dipper, and Mabel were home from the grocery store. They had stopped to grab food at McDonald's on their way back, and they soon were putting everything away for Thanksgiving. God, that was tiring, Dipper said and sighed as he began to munch down on his meal from McDonald's. At least we got it all done. That's one thing we got out of our minds, Wendy added. Mabel was so tired that she could only sit down to eat. There was way too much stuff to carry in, Mabel said as she sighed in relief that everything they brought was in the fridge and freezer. Who is going to do what chores to do for Thanksgiving dinner? Dipper asked Wendy. Uncle Stan is going to carve the turkey, and I think I'm going to put the turkey in the oven and make the stuffing, Wendy replied as Dipper snickered when Wendy said about stuffing the turkey with the stuffing. Dipper does have a dirty mind at times. He knew that he could make a really inappropriate joke. Stuff what, Wendy? Dipper asked. Stuff you up? Dipper then said to Wendy. The two laughed as Wendy knew it was an adult joke Dipper said. Stuff the turkey, Dipper. That's not what I meant, Wendy replied with a chuckle. Can I help you stuff the turkey with the stuffing? Dipper asked. Of course, Dipper. Zeus is going to make the cranberry sauce. Wendy continued to go on about who's doing what for Thanksgiving. Mabel is going to make the mashed potatoes and the squash. And then your brothers are going to set up the table, Mabel said to Wendy. Yep, they are, and my dad will make sure they set up the table the right way, or they'll answer to me, Wendy said. Thursday finally came, and it was Thanksgiving. Mabel was asleep on her bed as Dipper woke up. He walked over to his sister's bed and began to wake her up. Mabel, today is Thanksgiving. It's time to get up, Dipper said as Mabel rolled over on her side. She was lazy like Dipper was the day before. So Dipper got an idea. He saw Ted knocking at the window, so he let him in. Hey Ted, what's up? Dipper asked. For my Thanksgiving, I'm here for, Ted began. Your girlfriend is waiting for you and Mabel at the Mystery Shack. You're preparing the turkey with stuffing, Ted added as Dipper couldn't stop thinking about the joke he made to Wendy the other day. Well, Ted, Mabel won't get out of bed and she's being lazy. Can you help me with that? Dipper asked. Sure. This is the Mean Ted Machine job, Ted said as he grabbed an air horn and then blew it so loud that Mabel was awoken by the sound. Luckily, Ted didn't blow the air horn at Mabel's ear or she would have gone deaf. What the hell? Mabel shrieked when she woke up. She turned to see Ted and Dipper laughing their asses off. What's so funny? Mabel said in a grumpy voice. My prank, Mabel. I blew the horn at ya. Ted laughed out loud. Dipper couldn't help but laugh when he fell on the floor. Ted, that wasn't funny. You could have blew my eardrum, Mabel replied furiously. Sorry, Mabel. You weren't waking up, so Ted wanted to help, Dipper said as he turned to Ted. That was a little bit too far, don't you think, Ted? Dipper whispered to Ted's ear. Yeah, sorry about that, Mabel. Today is Thanksgiving, and I am here with the booze, Ted said to Mabel. Oh yeah, Dipper, we should head to the Mystery Shack. Wendy might need our help, Mabel said. Everyone will be here at 4 o'clock, and it's now 10 in the morning, so let's go, Mabel, Dipper said, as he and Mabel and Ted headed towards the Mystery Shack. Once they got there, they walked inside to the kitchen, and Wendy had got everything out. Glad you can make it. I need some help with the turkey, Wendy said. Great, so I bought the booze, Wendy. I even put some in the fridge to keep it cold, Ted replied. I saw them earlier this morning, Ted. I think you bought too many cases with you, Wendy chuckled to reply. What do you like us to do? Dipper asked. He was daydreaming about eating the Thanksgiving feast. You can help me with the turkey. Everything else will be made before the turkey is done, Wendy replied. Dipper and Mabel both washed their hands as Wendy washed the turkey. Ted was getting the bottle of beer, and he was just going to watch TV in front of the Mystery Shack. You and Mabel can make the stuffing. I gotta find a large pan for the turkey, Wendy said. As she was looking for a pan, Mabel along with Dipper used bread, onions, green onions, and seasoning to make the stuffing. Once Wendy found a pan big enough for the turkey, she set a couple of cups of water aside. The stuffing is finished, Mabel said as she and Dipper were finished with the stuffing. Sweet, let's stuff the turkey, Wendy replied. Dipper was starting to laugh as the joke with me made the stuffing of the other day was still on his mind. I think someone has a dirty mind. Maybe I'll wash it out with soap, Wendy teased as Dipper chuckled with laughter. Come on, Wendy, don't be mean, Dipper said as Mabel laughed with him. All right, Dips, the stuffing is inside the turkey. Now it'll just take about 6 hours to cook. So Seuss will be here to check on the turkey, Wendy said as she put the turkey in the oven. Luckily, it was preheated before she got started on the turkey. I can't wait to eat the turkey, Wendy. When will it be ready? Dipper asked. It takes about 6 hours for the turkey to cook, Wendy replied as then she kissed Dipper's nose. It'll be ready before you know it. Just then, Seuss arrived for his shift. Seuss, glad you're here, Dipper said. I'll look after the turkey while we do the cranberry sauce. And when it's almost done, it'll be amazing, Seuss replied as Wendy saw Robbie walking in the Mystery Shack. She then hid behind the counter. Ted walked over as to wondering why Wendy was hiding. What does Robbie have in his mind this time? Wendy, what the hell are you doing? Ted asked as he looked around for a beer bottle from the fridge. Robbie's here, and I don't want him here for Thanksgiving, Wendy replied. Want me to teach him a lesson? I'll beat him up like last time he showed up, Ted replied. He also put some Miralax in the beer bottle. I can give this beer spiked with Miralax, it'll keep him on the toilet for hours, Ted snickered as Wendy loved the plan. Dipper and Mabel also liked it. Go ahead, Ted. I'm sure Robbie will stay away from me after that, Wendy said. Ted walked up to the front of the Mystery Shack with 2 beer bottles. Robbie saw Ted on the counter and wondered why a teddy bear was running the shack. Ted, you running the shack now? Robbie asked. It was odd for a teddy bear to be working in a shack. Where's Wendy? I want to apologize to her for... Robbie was then cut off by Ted. Ted, Wendy doesn't want to talk to you, Robbie. I said to you to leave her alone last time, Ted replied as he crossed his arms. Okay then, but why does she not want to talk to me? Robbie asked. Because she's engaged to Dipper. Plus, get over your obsession with her, Ted replied as he handed Robbie a beer bottle that was spiked with Miralax. Here, have a beer, Ted said as he and Robbie began to both drink their bottles of beer. And Ted knew his plan was about to take on Robbie. You know what, Ted? I had to go through a punishment day with Boris, you, and Shadow on Valentine's Day. And I hope you don't start crap again, Robbie said as he felt his stomach growled violently. Ted was about to burst out laughing, but he held in his laugh. If I were you, Robbie, I'd be heading home to the bathroom, Ted smirked at Robbie, and then Robbie realized that he didn't know that Ted spiked his beer. You better get home to the bathroom, Robbie, or you'll soil yourself. Why don't I use the Mystery Shack's bathroom? Robbie asked as he felt his stomach clenching in pain. It's in use right now, so get your ass back home, Ted said as he then charged at Robbie with a beer bottle. Robbie ran to his van and started to drive all the way home. As soon as Robbie's van was far away from the mystery shack, Ted chuckled to himself. Sure hope you soil yourself, Robbie. That will teach you not to mess with Wendy Corduroy and be too soon to be Wendy Pines. Ted headed back inside the mystery shack. Is Robbie gone? Wendy asked. Yep, and I sure hope he soils his pants on the way home. Ted replied as he started to laugh. What did you spike Robbie's beer with? Mabel asked. He used Miralax for that, Mabel. You might not want to know what it does to you, Dipper replied to his sister's question. A few hours later, it was around 4 o'clock and everyone was already going to be at the mystery shack soon. Ted was watching TV with Dipper and Mabel, and then the door opened and it was Wendy's father with her 3 brothers, and they were there to celebrate Thanksgiving. Wendy walked up to greet them and hugged her father. Hey there, my sweet girl, Mainly Dan said as he hugged Wendy. Dad, I'm glad you and my brothers are here, Wendy replied as she showed off her engagement ring to her father. Dipper and I are engaged, Wendy said. Yeah, and I'm your soon-to-be son-in-law, Dipper said to Mainly Dan nervously, but Wendy's father gave Dipper a big hug. Awesome, that Wendy is with a nice boy like you. So Wendy, when will everything be ready? Mainly Dan asked. Everything will be ready in 2 hours. The turkey is almost done, Wendy said. Mabel then got up to get the squash and potatoes ready to be cooked in the kitchen. Then 2 more people walked inside the mystery shack. It was a pink starfish named Patrick Star and his friend, the Shadow Reader. Shadow, why didn't we get McDonald's for dinner? Patrick asked. Because, Patrick, McDonald's food is very unhealthy to eat all the time, Shadow Reader explained. Plus, we're having a turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, Shadow added. Welcome to the mystery shack, Sue said to Patrick and Shadow Reader. Dinner will be ready soon. Come on in. Sue let Patrick and Shadow inside the mystery shack. Ted was on Mabel's laptop, only looking at X-rated stuff. He wanted to post not safe for work on Robbie's YouTube channel to get revenge on him even more. This is gonna get Robbie in big trouble now, Ted chuckled, but he didn't see that Mabel was behind Ted. Ted, what the hell are you doing? Mabel asked. She then snatched the laptop from Ted. You can't post not safe for work on YouTube. It's not allowed. Relax, Mabel, Ted began. I was only getting back at Robbie, Ted said to Mabel. Well, you shouldn't do that, Ted. Even if I were you and you and Wendy don't like Robbie, Mabel began as she put her laptop away. I thought you didn't like seeing porn on the computer. That was on Johnny's laptop. This is different, Ted said to Mabel. Mabel, can you please peel the potatoes for me? Wendy called out from the kitchen. As Mabel looked to the kitchen, she can see that Dipper was helping Wendy with the drinks. Want wine, Wendy? Dipper asked. Wine is rather a strong taste for me, Dips. Plus, I don't drink wine, Wendy replied. Patrick Star was going to eat the dessert on the counter. Patrick mumbled as he was about to put his fingers into the dessert. But Shadow Reader stopped him, just in time. No dessert first, Patrick, Shadow said to the starfish. Shadow, I want some pumpkin pie, Patrick whined. Not for dinner, Patrick. I've told you this back in my house. Shadow replied as he put down the pumpkin pie in the fridge on a high shelf. Ted then walked to the kitchen and Wendy crouched down to Teddy Bear's level. Did you take care of Robbie? Wendy asked. Yep, I spiked his beer bottle with Miralax, Ted replied with a chuckle. I even poured some paint on his toilet seat and at his house, and he'll be on the toilet for a long time. Ted burst out laughing. Man, Ted, Wendy said, as she was laughing so hard she almost fell to the ground. What did you say to him? I told him he better look for a toilet because he would have crapped himself if he didn't find one, Ted chuckled. I did that to Johnny as an April Fool's Day joke last year. I sure hope Robbie doesn't come back here, Ted. I don't know why he does doing that, Wendy sighed. Within 2 hours, the food was all cooked and ready to eat. Patrick was about to sneak out of the mystery shack, only wanting to go to McDonald's. Patrick, Wendy wants you and Ted to set the table, Shadow Reader said as he pulled Patrick away from the exit of the mystery shack. No fair, Shadow. I want McDonald's, not a turkey dinner, Patrick whined. But Shadow was having none of it. For the last time, Patrick, we're not having McDonald's on Thanksgiving. Why do you keep wanting McDonald's all the time? Shadow asked. McDonald's is very unhealthy. You're no fun, Shadow, Patrick sighed sadly. Patrick, Star, and Ted, please set the table up, Wendy said to the teddy bear and the starfish. Okay, Wendy, Ted said, as he and Patrick began to set up the table. But they were arguing about what dishes go where. Grunkle Stan and Mainly Dan were carving the turkey. Mabel was making the mashed potatoes, and Dipper was making the gravy while Wendy got started on getting the drinks out. Seuss also decided to play straight Blanchin, only to annoy Wendy. Seuss, if you don't turn off that music, I'm going to beat your ass with a baseball bat, Wendy screamed at Seuss. Now calm down, Wendy. No need to get so hostile, Dipper said calmly. Luckily, Mabel turned the radio off. Sorry, Dipper. It's just preparing a turkey can be a lot of hard work, Wendy replied. Mabel was about to put her laptop on the table, but before she could do it, Wendy stopped her. No laptops on the table, Mabel. Man, that's no fair, Mabel whined. How come Ted gets to have his phone out? Mabel asked as Wendy saw that Ted was looking at furry not safe for work on his phone, and Wendy snatched the phone away. Ted, you can't be looking at furry not safe for work on the table, Wendy said. Hey, you can't have my phone. That's not fair, Ted protested, but Wendy put Ted's phone in the back pocket where her butt was. Doesn't matter, Ted. I'll need to eat a normal Thanksgiving meal without phones to distract us, Wendy said, as Grunkle Stan and Mainly Dan brought the food over. This looks good, Shadow said, seeing the food being served to everyone, including himself. Thanks, Shadow, but we all did it, Dipper said. Then he saw Ted drinking a can of Red Bull. All right, I want a party, Ted said so fast that he threw a beer bottle at Grunkle Stan by accident. Hey, no throwing at the table, Grunkle Stan said to Ted, but Ted then grabbed his dinner plate and he got outside with his food. Wendy can hear Ted yelling and screaming while being silly. Ted, why did you have to drink a can of Red Bull? Wendy asked as she facepalmed. Wendy, your brothers wanted to bring it, Mainly Dan said, as he made an angry glare at Wendy's three brothers. We're busted, said one of Wendy's brothers. You're all grounded when we get home, Mainly Dan said, as Mabel started to eat the food. Patrick decided to start a food fight. Food fight, Patrick said, as he started the food fight, but Shadow grabbed the baseball bat and hit Patrick in the face. No, Patrick, no food fight at the table, Shadow shouted to the starfish. But Shadow, this is boring, Patrick whined, but Dipper grabbed the starfish. That's too bad, Patrick. There is going to be no food fight at the table, Dipper said, as he threw Patrick into the Mystery Shack basement and then closed the door and locked it. That starfish will never learn, Shadow agreed with Dipper as he facepalmed. This is just not as bad as last year. He ate all the Thanksgiving food last year, Shadow began. Not only that, but my Aunt Lucy then turned into a demon and exploded my house. Dang, Shadow, that must have been rough, Seuss said to Shadow. As soon as Ted ate his turkey dinner, he went back inside and got another bottle of beer and sat on the couch. Thanks for dinner, Ted said as he was drinking his beer in front of the TV. Shadow, let me out of the basement, Patrick called, but Shadow and nor everyone else didn't care. No way, Patrick. You were trying to start a food fight, Shadow said. After the dinner was done, dessert was being served. That dinner was good, Ted said as he took a piece of apple pie and ate it in front of the couch in front of the TV. Thanks for the dinner, Wendy, Dipper, and Mabel, Seuss added. No problem, Shadow. Glad we invited you and Patrick, Mabel replied, until Patrick tried to cause trouble. Yeah, I've been through a lot of trouble with Patrick before, Shadow said, as Wendy was serving the pieces of pumpkin pie and apple pie. She even put whipped cream on the slices. When is the wedding of you and Dipper? Mainly Dan asked. We're going to wait at least a year or two. At least we need some time to get things ready, Wendy replied. Dipper then grabbed a can of whipped cream and then he put some in his mouth. Dipper, Mabel said as she began laughing as Dipper had whipped cream on his face. Let's not do that, Dipper, Wendy chuckled as she took the can of whipped cream away from Dipper. I know you like whipped cream, but don't do that at the table. Sorry, Wendy, Dipper replied with his cheeks turning red. After dessert was being served, Patrick escaped from the basement and back into the dinner table. Shadow was shocked to see that Patrick got out of the basement. Patrick? Shadow said in surprise. How did you get out of the basement? I snuck out, Shadow. Now take me to McDonald's, Patrick pouted. Patrick, for the last time, Shadow growled. He was getting annoyed by Patrick's whining. We're not having McDonald's since it's Thanksgiving, Shadow shouted at Patrick. Then the starfish grabbed Shadow's wallet from his jacket pocket. Too bad, Shadow. Since I got your wallet, I'm off to McDonald's. Patrick cackled as he ran off with Shadow's car keys. Patrick! Shadow Reader yelled. Come back here right now. You gotta catch me first, Shadow. Patrick cackled as he ran off. Shadow Reader followed behind him. Come back here, Patrick! Shadow Reader screamed as he ran off into the mystery shack to chase Patrick all the way home. That was a great dinner, Mabel said. It sure was, Mabel. This was a great Thanksgiving, Dipper said. Patrick, did you try to start, even though Patrick did try to start trouble, but he ain't gonna work, Dipper replied as Dipper added. But of course, Wendy popped in. Sure hope Shadow can catch Patrick. He sure wanted McDonald's today, Wendy replied as she and Dipper and Mabel both laughed. I sure hope he does. I managed to keep Robbie away from Wendy, Ted said while winking. We sure hope he doesn't cause any more trouble, Wendy replied. Then she sat down with Mabel and Dipper. When he sees that I'm engaged to Dipper, he's gonna be jealous. Yeah, why not Robbie go marry Patrick Star then? Ted said while laughing. Later on at night, everyone has gone back home, and thanks to everyone for the dinner, Dipper and Wendy were soon alone in the mystery shack. They were stuffed from the big Thanksgiving dinner they had. That was a big meal, Wendy, Dipper said to Wendy. He was full from all the food he ate today. I'm stuffed. Wendy started to giggle. She remembered the joke that Dipper made the other day while shopping. I'm stuffed too, Dipper. I'm not want to work tomorrow, Wendy replied as she lay down on their bed, with covers over herself and Dipper. Well, Wendy, why don't we take tomorrow off to go have some fun? Dipper winked seductively, if you know what I mean. Oh yes, Dipper. Tomorrow we'll have fun together. Just the two of us, Wendy replied as she and Dipper both yawned and fell asleep. The next day, the two of them had a lot of fun, and Dipper and Wendy had really got to say that Thanksgiving this year was the best one they have celebrated.